All right, my name is Maddie Longprihar. I'm going to kind of be leading our volunteer training today with the help of my dad, Doug. If anyone has been here before, it's this guy over here. My dad has done it 1,000,001 times, so I'm taking over now, I guess. So I just wanted to start it by thanking you all for coming out. I know it's kind of crazy, semi-typical UP weather we're having out there. It's kind of crazy, but thank you all for braving it and coming out and joining us as we go through this training process today. So I first wanted to start by shouting out some of our members of the board in our race planning. So if you are on either of those, please raise your hand. So if you guys could look around, just take a peek at those faces. Let's give them a big thank you because there's a lot that goes into this. All right, so who is this their first time that they've been here? Fair number, awesome. Well, thank you guys for coming out and welcome. Who's been here maybe 3 or 4 times? Thank you guys for coming back. All of our volunteer trainings? Whoa, look at those 3. Pretty awesome that we have that many people sticking around, and I think that's a true testament to our organization as a whole. We really care about our volunteers, and we want nothing but the best for you guys, but also our mushers on the trail. So we're going to be walking through our volunteer training here today. Some things that we're going to go over. This is just an outline. Dog sledding equipment 101, that is on the way, so we're going to kind of skip over that. But we're also going to cover how to handle a team. Number 1 rule right there is keep them straight. We're also going to cover the anatomy of a crossing, do's and don'ts, and just some things that you might see when we're out there. So we're going to go right to how to handle a team. So in theory, when the mushers are moving, they're going to be in a straight line with their dogs. So if you see that happy smiley face up there, that's what we want. That's the goal. That's ideal. So when we're going through a crossing, that's how they should look, straight, lined out. That kind of sad, grumpy face, we don't want that. That's not good. That's how tangles happen. That's how legs get caught in a line, and we don't want that at all. We want a nice straight line when they're going through. When we need to handle our dog team, what we're going to do is we're going to kind of bend over, stay low while holding the gang line. You're going to hold your arm out, and you're going to hold that center line. That's our goal, and then we're going to move with our team. So always kind of bend your knees, stay low, grab that center line while we move with the team. Be careful. They have those little itty-bitty paws. We do not want to step on those. That's where the magic happens. Everything goes right back to the dog's paws. Paw care is number 1 with mushers. If they don't have good paws, if they have cracks or splits, they're going to pull that dog. So be careful if you're handling the dog teams. Always stay low, hold that gang line, and watch for feet because we don't want to step on those. Dad, am I missing anything? Yes, no yak tracks, because that's going to really hurt those feet if we do step on them with yak tracks, so do your best. If you can avoid wearing them, you can bring them with you, just don't wear them when you're handling the dog team. Anything else? All right. So next is the anatomy of a crossing. This is kind of going to be an outline of what we're going to see if you're at a road crossing. First thing that's going to come through is our trail boss. He's going to be coming through, and he's just going to make sure the trail is looking A-okay, doing any last-minute marking, things like that. And then a little bit after that, say 30 minutes, give or take, we're going to see those lead snowmobiles come through. Once you see those leads, that means dog teams are going to be coming pretty quick after. So then you're going to have anywhere from 30 to 40 teams coming through. If we're on Friday night, if we're on Saturday, it's going to be around maybe 30 max for the 120. For the 15 and the dart, there's going to be a few others during that portion. So just be aware of what race is coming through your crossing. That way we can have an idea of how many teams are coming through. So maybe you can keep a count just to make sure we're getting everyone. The one thing that you're going to want to be looking for at the end is our sweep snowmobiles. Once those guys comes through, that's the end of it. As long as those guys make their way through, all of your teams have gone through, and you can start to think about packing up. Father, we're good. So next, continuing on to the anatomy of a crossing, we're going to have a few different parts to play, so to say. We're going to want a spotter. That spotter is going to be standing a little bit up the trail, and they're going to be waiting for those teams. They're going to see headlamps, maybe even some blinking lights on the dogs. And when they see that, they're going to yell back and say, hey, we have a musher coming. That's a big thing. We want to make sure everyone is aware when a team is coming through because that's going to ensure the safety of the musher getting through if we need to stop them or if they can continue on through that crossing. Next, at some checkpoints, we're going to have a bib checker. So they're going to write down that number bib as they're coming through and write down the time. This was a cool part when I competed in 23. I came through a crossing and they're like, bib 12. And then they did this whole little short bio on me. It's really cool if you want to get that into it. Awesome. If not, just make sure you're jotting that stuff down. So our next two are our runner. In some cases, we're going to need this. In most, we're not going to. If we do need to stop, we're going to have a person labeled the runner who is going to hold the neckline of the leaders of the team that's coming through. Do not grab any of the dogs. Those are athletes. We're not going to run onto a football field and start petting the football players, are we? No. We're just going to kind of grab on that center line, treat them like athletes because that's what these guys are at the end of the day. Unless a musher tells you can touch their dog, just kind of keep your hands off for the moment, just because we want to make sure everyone's staying happy, healthy, and doing what they want to do. Yeah. So at some of our crossings, we're going across the road, and if we have fire or police presence that can stop traffic, they'll do that. But if we don't, and there's cars coming, we're going to want to stop the teams to make sure they're not going into oncoming traffic. That's a great question. So that runner, they don't necessarily need to run the team across the road crossing because some mushers are going to be like, all right, let go, and then they're just going to go. If they do want that, they will probably tell you, but if not, rule of thumb, just let them go and just make sure that they make their way across the road crossing. Then we also have two sled holders. Occasionally, if there is a tangle when they get to that crossing and they're stopped, a musher might say, hey, come stand on my sled. So then you'll go stand on the sled and you'll wait and you'll just put your feet on the brake, anchor down while they go fix their dogs. Mushers know their dogs best at the end of the day, so it's best if they say, hey, I want to go fix that, just stand on their brake. And someone else can kind of help anchor down the sled if they need to. Big thing is when they say, all right, let go, just back up because we don't want anyone to get drugged with a team. As someone who has been drugged behind a dog sled team, it's not fun. It's really not fun. So those are just a few things. And we also have a crossing guard up there. They're going to have a few different hand signals. We're also going to have some sheets of paper. I don't know if we have one of those outside that we can show. Let's see, maybe Kelly's grabbing one. Jim, you can go to the next slide. Okay, yes. So green, you're going to hold up green if they can go through. And then if you need them to stop, you're going to hold up red. But that's in daylight only. Because if we're out in the day, they're going to be able to see, but if it's at night, they're not going to be able to see that at all. So some hand signals that you're going to be able to see. If we can't have a team go through, you're going to make a big line just going straight across. Just like that. That means, nope, stop, not clear to go through. But if we are good to go through, it's going to be a big circle. So just two different hand motions there. So those work in the daytime too. If we need them to stop in the daytime and for some reason you don't have that sheet, just put your arms up and make an X. They're going to know that, hey, we got to stop, but I believe everyone should have that sheet that has either green or red on it. So then the next one, again, just going back to at night with your flashlight, with your headlamp, make sure you're just doing that line to stop, and then if they're good to go through, just do the big circle. Yes, Dad.
One real quick thing. So how many people are doing nighttime road crossing? Okay. How many of you have headlamps? Those cool little headlamps. So before that team starts coming, do the mushies a favor to turn out the light. Because they're going to be looking for that one person doing this or doing this. That they're going to want, they're going to want to make sure that there's only one person signaling. So imagine all these headlamps going, looking all over the place. It's going to be like, they're going to be like, what? What am I supposed to do? So yeah, make sure you turn them off.
Hold on to that. So yeah, that's a big thing. If you're out there Friday night and you have a headlamp, just make sure you turn it off or cover it. That's a big thing. Preferably turn it off, but if you forget and you're like, oh shoot, they're coming, just put your hand over it and cover it too. That works just fine. As someone who's gotten confused at crossings because of that, it's no big deal, but just do your best to make sure you either turn it off or just cover it. And then we can keep going. So we have some do's and don'ts here. I know some of us have our bags already, and so in there we do have our safety vests. Wear those at all times. If you're a night crossing, if you're a day crossing, make sure you have those on because our trail boss, our sleds, our mushers, but also other people, if we have snowmobilers up, they're gonna see those and they're gonna be like, what's going on? If they don't already know what's going on, then they can approach you and be like, hey, what the heck's going on? And then you guys can say, we're volunteering for a dog sled race, but that kind of vest just alerts people, not only mushers, but everyone else that's gonna be on the trail because we are sharing the trail. It's not our trail, we're a guest on the snowmobile trail. So when you get to your crossing, park off the road. You can have your hazards on. Just make sure you park off the road because we don't want to be in traffic's way. We don't want anything happening to anyone. So make sure if we're parking, just park off the side of the road, please. Then if you're at nighttime, bring a flashlight or a headlamp. Even if you're in the daytime, who knows, you might need it. It never hurts to have one on you just in case. Show up early. There's no buffer times when we're building the schedule, so show up early. Have a good time. Enjoy being out there. Enjoy getting ready to watch these dogs come through because it's pretty dang cool if you ask me. It's really fun watching all these guys come through. We have mushers coming from Oregon, Montana, Canada. It's a really cool thing to see. So show up early, be prepared. You never know. The first team might come flying through when you're least expecting it. So if you can, please just show up early. Bring a shovel. If we're going across the road, we're gonna want you guys to bring a shovel. That way we can kind of dump a layer of snow over the road. As someone who has gotten drugged down pavement, it's not fun. So make sure if you can, bring a shovel, put some snow across the road. That way if they do for some reason fall, they have at least a little bit of cushion, but it also makes it so their runner plastic doesn't get destroyed as well, because for some mushers, that helps them out a lot. What was that? Yeah, perfect. So have a secondary signaler in case of blind corners. It does not hurt to have multiple people. Like if we're coming up on a corner, have someone right before that turn. If you're turning and then going across the road, just have two people. Yep, you can go on through, two people there, and then if for some reason they turn and they have to stop, at least we have a second person there and nothing's gonna happen. So if you can, just make sure you have two people who know what they're signaling, so when mushers are coming through, it's very clearly displayed. And then stop any team if you're unsure of safety. If you're thinking, hey, maybe that car is coming a little too fast or a little too slow, stop the team. If there's no police or fire presence, stop the team for everyone's safety just in case, because we don't want to, oh shoot, I should have done that, I should have stopped them, and then something happened. So if you're unsure, stop the team. Father.
I had to, sorry. So yes, she's absolutely right. When you guys, anyone that's done a road crossing before, you know doggone well that when you're looking down the road, you're like, oh, how far is that car is only a mile away. You know, we got time, we got time. Some cars will come up to you guys, see the flashing lights, and they're gonna what? Slow down. They're gonna wanna know what's going on, wave them on, tell them to go. You know, so it's really important that you're making sure that the teams are 110% safe. They are relying on you guys to make sure that whoever's making that decision at that road crossing, we're stopping that team or we're not stopping that team. We're letting them go through. Maddie had mentioned earlier that there's some road crossings and it's only major road crossings like US 41. M26, are we crossing M26? I can't think, no, just, yeah, so anywhere where you see a fire department or a police department, just remember, they're the only ones that can stop traffic, okay? You guys cannot stop traffic, technically. Loop, keyword, technically. So, but again, make sure that, we're making sure that these mushers are safe because they are relying on you guys. Very important.
Yeah, any major road crossing, all the major ones have police and fire. So it's just the Copper City crossing, anything on US 41, Walkabell Road, Eagle Harbor Road that has firemen and police present.
At the end of the day, it doesn't hurt to stop the team. They might gripe about it and be like, what the heck's taking the car so long? In the long run, we would just rather you guys be safe and make sure you stop them if you think it's best. At the end of the day, a few seconds is a few seconds, and safety is our biggest concern. So moving on to our don'ts. Don't offer dogs any food. Just don't. It's not a good idea. You can offer the musher a snack maybe if you're feeling up to it. Don't offer the dogs any food. Don't throw any food onto the trail. I was at the Iditarod start and someone threw a hot dog on the trail and a dog choked on it. Let's not do that. So if you're bringing food, keep it to yourself. You guys can eat it, maybe pass it off to a musher, but make sure you're doing like a direct hand contact with that. Passing them a Gatorade, it's not the end of the world for the musher, but just do not offer anything to the dogs. These guys are on their own strict diet, and we don't want to interfere with that either. Again, don't stop traffic. It's just don't do it unless there is fire or police presence there. But yeah. Don't allow cars to stop and observe. Again, like my dad said, wave them through. If they get up to you guys and they're like, oh, what's going on? You can say, okay, you can go park off to the side and invite them to come check it out. It's a cool thing to witness and see, but just make sure that they are getting out of the way because we don't want to interfere with any other oncoming traffic or anything like that. So just say, hey, park off to the side, come take a peek, maybe watch a team or two come through, but we just don't want them stopping and watching from their car in the middle of the road. Do not leave unattended fires. You guys can have a fire on the trail, but just please make sure it's completely put out. We just don't want any issues with that. So if you are going to have one, make sure it's completely out before you guys leave your crossing, just for the safety of everyone else as well. Do not contact the dogs unless it is the emergency or if the musher requests. Again, we're not going to go petting football players, so we're not going to go petting dogs on the trail. Mushers are very particular about their dogs sometimes, so just make sure that we're respecting the musher's wishes. If there is an emergency and a musher is like, hey, grab that dog, as long as they tell you to, it's okay. I had a tangle on the trail one time, and a musher was like, oh, I can't touch your dog, he just growled at me. So again, it's best just to let the mushers work with their own dogs. And going back to when I was talking to you guys about stopping them at a crossing, if they say stand on my brake, stand on their brake. That's the best thing you can do in that situation. The mushers know their dogs best, and they're gonna know how to touch them, where to move them, things like that. So just leave all of our puppy dogs alone. And our biggest thing, do not bring your pets from home. You might have a husky at home. They don't wanna come watch. They don't. Just leave all your pets at home just because we don't want something to happen on the trail if you do bring a pet, because these guys are athletes, and the last thing we want is a home pet thinking that they can run the CopperDog and be like, yeah, this is great, and then something happens. So just please leave your pets at home. It's for the safety of not only your pet, but also the musher's dogs. Yes, Kiko. Yeah, don't take it personally. As someone who has had dogs that are really iffy to touch going through crossings, don't take it personally. We're looking out for you guys as well. Who knows? Maybe the dog might snap at you. I've had dogs snap at people, and then I feel bad because it's like, oh, I could have avoided that. So don't take it personally. Some dogs are just a little goofy sometimes. Some mushers are a little goofy, but we love them all anyway. But yeah, again, with the pets, just make sure, be polite about it. Don't be rude about it. Everyone here is polite, but again, some people might take it the wrong way. So be gentle about it. Be kind about it. It's just best for everyone. If my team can go 20 miles per hour when they see a deer over there, imagine how fast they're going to want to charge at you if you have a little like dog in your arms. So again, just make sure we don't have any pets out there with us. Moving on. So our safety policy, it is the responsibility of the CopperDog Board of Directors to provide and maintain a safe race trail and road crossings. However, race participants are expected to be in control of their team at all times. Again, if something happens on the trail and a musher says, please, will you stand on my brake? You guys can do that, but in the end of the day, they're responsible for fixing their tangles, lining their team out, and making sure that everything is A-okay with them. In spite of this, a circumstance may arise when a musher is unaware of a hazard or is unable to control their team, resulting in danger to the mushers, dogs, or spectators, snowmobilers, or automobiles. In such situation, any volunteer is expected to provide assistance in whatever form necessary, except to the extent that their own safety is jeopardized. So again, if you see something, if you see a tangle, like a dog's arm is wrapped with the gang line, be like, hey, that dog's tangled, yell at them as they're going through. They probably do know already, but it does not hurt to repeat it to them. If something's coming up and you're like, oh no, this really doesn't look good, yell at them, shout at them. At the end of the day, they're going to be happy that you're concerned with their safety and everyone else's safety. So if you feel like you do need to do so and step in, yell at them, shout at them, say something to them. Dad.
You know, I have to just go back to what Kiko was saying about volunteers and some of the best volunteers. You guys need to understand something. We have the best volunteers. CopperDog has the best, and I'm not just saying that. We've listened to over 100 mushers say, you guys have the most road crossings. You guys have the best volunteers. They know what they're doing. They understand how this works. So you guys all need to thank yourself and everyone else that does, that volunteers. There's over 600 shifts that we cover. You guys cover that, everyone. It's amazing. So just think to yourself, look at the scope of that. It's just amazing to think we have some of the best volunteers throughout the country. So I just want you guys to know that hats off to you guys, because you guys are the ones out there doing it, freezing. I look at the Boy Scouts. The Boy Scouts been doing it for 15, 16 years now. If you need to know how to put out a fire, go talk to those guys. They know. Maddie said, make sure you extinguish your fire. They'll help you out. Plus, if you don't have a road crossing Friday night, go hang with those guys because they have food. All right?
As someone who has been to multiple different races, I've raced myself. I've been to Iditarod, the Yukon Quest. I've been to Race to the Sky, Eagle Cap Extreme, Idaho Sled Dog Challenge. I have not felt safer on any other trail besides the CopperDog Trail. And I said that in my closing email after the race. I said, I have never felt so safe. And I may sound biased. I've grown up with the race, but truly, when you're out there with your dogs, safety is important. You're always thinking about, okay, this might go wrong. What would I do? When I was here, I just stood back and I just cruised through all those road crossings. And everyone's cheering me on. You guys truly are the best. And without you guys, we would not be CopperDog. So thank you, because you guys truly keep us safe. And without you, we wouldn't be anything. All right, some things that you might see out there. Tangles. Every musher's worst nightmare is a tangle. There are small tangles, there are big scale tangles. I've had a tangle with a 16 dog team. It's not fun. You might see those out there. In that case, again, You're going to stand on that musher's brake, and if they do ask you to assist them in any way with touching their dogs, feel free. But again, the best thing you can do in that situation is stand on that brake and wait until they come back or they ask you for a different form of help. Tangles are a big thing that we can see out there. They're not fun, but they do happen. Next, you can see little arguments between the dogs. You might see them between the mushers. That's very rare, but you might. But mainly you're going to see them with the dogs. When I was running teams, I had 2 lead dogs that would bark at each other, try to bite each other the first 5 miles of every run. It does happen. In that case, again, if a musher wants to break that up, they're going to say, hey, can you stand on my sled? You're going to stand on that brake while they go break that fight up. Please, if you see one, do not stick your hands in the middle of that. That's the worst thing you could possibly do. Yes. So the dog teams are going to be out there. They're going to be anywhere from 10 dogs all the way down to 6 dogs for our 120, 30, and our 15. If we're going to be watching the Copper Dart, I believe that's 2 to 4, right, Kelly? Cool. So they're not huge 16 dog teams, but also it's manageable, but still that's kind of going to be the numbers that you guys are looking at, anywhere from about 10 to maybe 5, 1 in the bag type deal. So they're not huge teams, but they still are pretty long teams. They're going to span quite a ways depending upon how long their gang line is. You're going to see snowmobilers out there. It's their trail. We're just guests out there. We're just there to have fun and have a good time. It's their trail. This is kind of their peak season. They're having a great time out there. Be kind to them. If they do get frustrated with you, be like, hey, I'm sorry, but this is what we're doing. There's nothing that we can do to please everyone, but just be kind if they do have an issue with you guys. Yes?
Who has the right of way?
Who has the right of way? Snowmobilers. It's their trail. Some of the time when I was out there racing, most of the time snowmobilers would pull off to the side of the trail, they'd turn their machine off and they'd watch us go by. But at the end of the day, the snowmobilers do have the right of way. It's their trail. We're just happy to be there and be guests on their trail. Yes, they do. Yep. You can also see my favorite thing in the world, a ghost musher. Those aren't fun. A ghost musher is when a dog team is cruising along with no musher standing on the back of the sled. It's not fun. It's scary. It's happened to me. It's every musher's worst nightmare to have a ghost musher, ghost sled. So in that case, there's a few different things that we can do. We're going to want to try our best to stop a team. Dad, do you want to help me demonstrate? So if you see a team and you're at a road crossing, the best thing you can do, you're going to want to get low. You're going to want to get in front of that team and you're going to want to get low, and they're going to kind of run into you. You're going to stop and you're going to grab that center gang line. In that case, you can make sure, grab the leaders, and then we can kind of straighten out the team the best that we can from there. That's another situation. Yes, we did have that happen last year.
Ah! Spook 'em. It works. We've been teaching it for 16 years, and we've only had to use it twice, maybe 3 times. The Boy Scouts did it last year. One of the kids, or a couple of the kids, did that? It worked, didn't it? Scares the doo-doo out of them.
Yeah. Mushers are going to have their headlamps on at night. So if you they should have their headlamps on. Sometimes they will turn it off. So just kind of your spotter, whoever's kind of up the trail, have them making sure. And if all of a sudden they're like, oh my gosh, there's no musher, then start hooting, hollering, and making sure, hey, it's a loose team. And then we can kind of get in front of them, spook them, get them to stop. And then at that point, you're going to hold that line out, and we're just going to kind of hang out, wait for a race official to get there, or wait for the musher to show up. Who knows? Maybe they're only like a quarter mile back, and they're going to be running their little booty off to get up there. As someone who's done that, I have done that. It's not fun. Yes. Yes. If you start to see teams behind them, do your best to kind of wiggle your way off to the side of the trail with them. I'll go over kind of the anatomy of a sled here in a minute. There's what we call snow hooks. We would want to take those off and plant those into the ground, and you're going to kick them into the snow because that's kind of like their parking brake. So if we do, yes, move them off to the side of the trail, but in a safe spot where mushers can still get through, but they're also not going to be taken down the highway or something like that. You might also see loose dogs. Yes, Kelly?
So every single major crossing radio operator that has a 800 radio that is going to connect directly to Bill LaBelle in the back here, myself, Maddie, just about anyone who's on the official race planning. So say a team goes across and you can't catch them and you're like, oh God, what do we do? You find your guy with the radio and you say, I'm at crossing, blah, blah, and a ghost team just went by. That alerts all of us that we have a team on the trail that is without their musher, and we can try to rectify that situation as fast as possible. You'll find that a lot of those mushers that fall off are gonna get picked up by the next musher, or they're gonna get picked up by somebody on a snowmobile. Okay, so you get a musher if they're injured. That's the other way to deal with it too. You find your radio operator and you let them know that we have a situation so that we can rectify that right away. Obviously, if you have an issue, 911 on your telephone. But not for a ghost team. If you have a musher that's injured, that comes up to you and they are injured and you don't know what else to do, 911, right? But 800, the 800 radio gets you connected to everybody, and we can fix that.
Okay, kind of moving along. So, with that, we might see loose dogs as well. I've been in a race, and all of a sudden, my dog backed out of her harness while we were stopped, and then little Shelby's trotting down the trail. I'm like, "Whoa, what are you doing?" They might take off. So if you do see a loose dog on the trail, do your best to get in front of them, spook them, try to get them to stop. In that case, if there's no mush around and there's just a loose dog, do everything you can to grab that dog. Some of them might be scared. There's quite a few sled dogs who are very spooky. They get nervous around people sometimes. Do your best to kind of calmly do it, and if it's not working, spook them, get in their face, try to get them to stop, because at the end of the day, we do not want any lost dogs on the trail. Shelby did come back at the end of the day. Little goof. So those are just some things that we can see out there. Again, use your best judgment. Ghost mushers don't happen very often, but again, keep an eye out for them because that's the worst nightmare. Tangles can happen during that. The sled can be bouncing up back and forth. Our line can get tangled, so do the best that you can if you do see one. But God forbid, we're not going to see any. Everything is going to go very smooth this race. So kind of going back, we don't have our sled here, but I am going to kind of describe the gist of some dog sledding equipment and what you're going to see. So every musher has a sled. It's that big thing that they're standing on. It's really hard to miss. Everyone's sled does look a little bit different, but they all have the kind of same general concept. So they all have brakes, a gang line, tug lines, neck lines, and then each dog is going to have a collar and a harness on. So starting kind of with the dog's gear, they're going to have that collar, and then they're also going to have a harness. There's many different types of harnesses, but each dog is going to have all of those on. How each dog is clipped into the gang line is the center line that connects from the sled all the way up to the lead dogs. That's our middle line. That's what you're going to grab if you're handling dogs. That's where you're going to be low, have your hand on that, and make sure your feet are far away from the dog's feet. So that's the line that you're going to grab. It goes through the center. So on that gang line, we have tug lines. Those tug lines connect to the back of the harness. Normally with the harness, we have our head up here and then the back of our harness back here. Most of the backs of the harnesses will have a loop, and that's where our tug lines clip in. And then we also have our necklines. Those necklines go right to the collar, so that's how our dogs are hooked in. Some mushers may not have a neckline on their leader, but those dogs are normally really good at lining out. So that's kind of the general gist of that. Yes. So kind of moving on to more of the sled stuff. On the sled, we have a few different types of brakes. We're going to have a snow hook. That's the kind of parking brake I told you guys about. If you have a ghost musher, you're going to grab those off the sled. They kind of have like two curled hooks like that, and you're going to punch that down into the snow. That's kind of our parking brake. Then we also have two other forms of brakes on the back of their sled. So when a musher is up there, here, we're standing like this. So our feet are apart, we're on two runners like this, and we have two different types of brakes between our feet. There's one that's kind of built, going to be right in front of their feet, a little off the ground. That's called a brake bar. So with the brake bar, they have two sharp spikes in it. Some mushers have a few more, and what they're going to do is they're going to put their foot right on that brake bar. It's a bar that goes right across. That's why we call it a break bar, because it's literally a bar that goes across. If you have to stop a team for any reason, that's what you're going to be standing on. You're going to put your full body weight on that, and you're going to make sure that they're hunkered down. The sled might be popping. The dogs are going to want to try to pull. Just do your best to really anchor down. If for some reason you need an extra foot on there, grab a pal and say, hey, I'm going to put my full body weight on there. Can you put a foot right there? That way you just have a little bit of extra weight on there. And you're going to want to kind of pull up on the sled. So you're going to be standing there on the brake bar and pull up. There's also another break. When the mushers are standing there, they have their feet apart on the runners. And then in between their feet, connected to the sled under the brake bar, they have what's called a drag mat. That drag mat is how they control their speed. They're going to put like a heel on it, maybe a whole foot. If they're feeling adventurous and their dogs are really pulling, they're going to put 2 feet on that. That's going to help slow them down, but not completely stop them. So if you do have to stand on a musher sled, you're going to want to stand on that brake bar. You don't want to stand on the pad in between the runners. You're going to want to stand right on that brake bar. Hopefully Tom will be here soon, so when we go outside, we can kind of show you guys a little bit more what that brake bar and what the drag mat looks like. So, yeah, you're really going to want to put your body on that, put all your weight down on it. As someone who has been on a sled and I've stood on my brake bar, my dogs will drag me while I'm still on that sometimes. So you really want to anchor down, pull up on that sled. If you do need another hand, make sure you just ask someone, hey, can you put an extra foot on here? That way we really make sure we don't move. Father, we're good. Does anyone have any questions? Yes.
Like in boxing and others, there's weight requirements. Weight requirements that sled, mushers, and any gear that they carry, are there weight requirements that the dogs have?
There is not, but we do have mandatory gear that goes into the sled bag. So it's not like you have to have 300 pounds in your sled. It's just you have to make sure all of your mandatory gear is in your sled, and they do checks of that. So some mushers, they have the thinnest, lightest sleeping bag they can possibly get, just because it's going to make things a little bit easier for them when they move.
Like in horse racing, a jockey have to weigh a certain amount. Therefore, does a sled have to weigh a certain amount or anything like that?
Nope. And you'll see different types of sleds. The real sprint sleds, they're smaller. They're made of nothing, and they weigh like 5 pounds. Then you're going to see more kind of thicker expedition style sleds that weigh like 50 pounds. So there's no real requirement for anything like that.
Just to add to that, and some of the stuff that she was talking about earlier, you know, the drag pad, you know, you'll see mushers standing on it. Think about cross-country runners. You know, they have a pace that they want to be at. You don't want to burn yourself out that first 100 mile or 1 mile, 2 miles, right? You want to slowly set a speed and keep it there. So that's what they're doing with the sleds. You know, some of them, they got a heavier sled, they might, you know, tone it down a little bit, you know, or the lighter sleds, same thing. You know, they all have strategy behind them of what they're doing. I remember one year we had part of the bag checks is we had some mushers that were really smart because of the weight that you're talking about. It didn't specify what kind of axe. So they went to Walmart and bought a kid's plastic axe, right? So yeah, so weight does play into it for some of them, but not all of them. Most of these people are just out there having a good time and want to win a little money or pay for some dog food.
Okay. Any other questions? Yeah. Yeah, so your crossing coordinator, first time doing it, not sure how to kind of approach the situation. Chrissy, do you have any pointers? She's first year crossing coordinator. Any tips and tricks on how to best execute that?
Come and see me and get your crossing coordinator. Just come see me and get your bag afterwards.
So all that's going to be in there. And just make sure that there's really great communication with everyone that's at your crossing and be like, hey, I went to the training, I learned, I got our bag, and this is what we're going to do. tell people, hey, these are the positions that we need, who wants to do what, and then kind of go from there. If you guys need to switch out people so everyone gets a chance to try something, that's totally fine too. But just make sure you guys have great communication, because at the end of the day, great communication at a crossing is going to lead to a safe crossing. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There's a couple more people from my house that are gonna be volunteering too.
Mm-hmm.
They have to sign it as well, or is it just like people that sign up for volunteering?
I believe they do. They do have to. Yeah.
And that's one of the jobs of the crossing coordinator, is to make sure everyone who's volunteering, even if it's someone who's, we've had a case where we were shorthanded at a crossing, and we pulled in some spectators, but we needed them to sign that waiver form, and you'll have waiver forms back.
Yep. So everyone needs to sign the waiver sheets just to make sure everyone's safe and good. Mhm.
If you don't know the people, you just give them a waiver.
Yeah.
And then getting that control's phone number. There is an issue you don't call.
Perfect. Yeah, I can.
Yeah, just so you know, we've got 20 some odd people that are out in the field watching this live.
Okay.
So if you can repeat the questions so they
Yep.
can hear it.
For
Appreciate
sure.
it.
Okay. And yes.
Is there anything else you need to bring, like first aid kit, water, or any of that?
So besides the snow shovels, if you guys do need to bring anything else, it does not hurt to bring along a first aid kit just in case. If you guys want to bring beverages, things for yourselves, that's fine too. But normally just a shovel, and if you want to bring a first aid kit, that's completely fine. Yes. So if you have a snow machiner that's endangering your volunteers, mushers, dogs, things like that, best thing to do is, okay.
Yeah, no, that's a great question, because we haven't had that happen a lot, but there is a chance that that can happen. So we do have, getting a radio operator is key. Getting a hold of net control is very key, because we do have Houghton County out there, state police are out there. They're actually riding on the trail to make sure everyone's, behaving. Unfortunately, Friday nights, yep, you got some people that maybe have a few too many cocktails, and they might not be very orderly for you, but, you just be as nice to them as possible. I believe also, just so everyone knows, CopperDog, the board, has been donating money every year, as far as I know, to the KTS. So that's been, kind of cool too, because CopperDog's putting money back into the community for the race trails. So that's really key, to kind of help calm that down a little bit. But just be cool with them, keep them, calm. Okay, yep, you're right. Sorry, go ahead. Try not to get upset with them.
Okay, net control will make contact with the officers if it's needed. Anything else before we move outside? Kelly, just the major ones we're gonna have our 800 radio operators at.
Them. Or a ham radio operator.
If there's going to be radios at all the crossings, major crossings are gonna have the 800s, and then are we gonna have ham radios floating around too?
There's gonna be some ham. Yep.
So
Some
there's a
ham.
mix throughout.
Yep.
Should be somebody there that can communicate.
And remember too, that your phone works in a lot of places, right?
Yeah.
So if there is an emergency, please don't be afraid to dial 911, especially if it has something to do with the road issue.
Police and fire there, get a hold of them.
Cool. Are we ready? Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, one more question.
Dogs, the dogs are not house dogs. Temperament is a big thing. If you see a dog that's injured, and please mention it to the musher, you feel that if the dog is injured, what do we do if the musher is not doing any concern on that? Is there a reporting to that?
So if the dogs on the trail, they're obviously not house dogs. So if they are injured and you note to the musher that they're not injured, that they're injured, and the musher does not do anything, what do we do? Where do we go from there? The best thing to do, most mushers, our lives are our dogs. There's a very few % chance, but if it does happen, if you can notify someone over the radio, say, hey, net control, this is what's going on, bib number, whatever, let them know. That way they can communicate to one of the organizers what's going on. That way when they get to the next checkpoint, us as organizers, we can handle that.
And just mention about how much care they give the dog. And also talk about, you may see a dog riding in the
Yeah, so in some cases, mushers might have an injured dog, and in that case, they're gonna put them in their sled, so you might see their head sticking out and like looking around like, oh, what's going on? That's normal. They might have two in there. Sometimes the dogs in the sled might try to flip the sled. I've had that happen. I've got drugged because the dog was like, hey, I wanna run, and then they're jumping out. But that's completely normal to see them in there. All the mushers, their number one priority is taking care of their dogs. Happy, healthy dogs equals happy, healthy mushers. That is a CopperDog motto, and that's something that all mushers go by too. If we're not going to run a hurt dog, just like if we're hurt, we're probably not going to run unless you're crazy and you actually want to. But our dogs are our number one priority, not only for mushers, but also as organizers, making sure we keep everyone safe. Yeah.
curious, in other sports, there are pit crews. And some of the pit crews go along with the other, are there pit crews along with this? And are there spare tires that are carried along with it? In other words, do they carry an extra dog if one gets hurt?
So, are there pit crews? Yes, each musher has their own handling crew that will travel along with them. And once the dog is checked into the race, they are eligible to race. But once they're checked out, they can no longer continue along the way. But mushers aren't going to throw a dog in their sled at the start line just in case they need to put them in at the end. They're going to be checked in and out. Yeah. So, okay.
Just to add to your question, because it's a great question, you know, you might see a dog that might be limping a little bit, you know, it's just like an athlete, maybe they sprain their ankle, you know, maybe, you know, they stub their toe, you know, you might see a dog limping a little bit. You might see when they're stopped, maybe a dog has its paw up and, you know, that's normal. You know, the mushers have hundreds of miles on these dogs already, conditioned, and they are really good about making sure that they're paying real close attention to their dogs. But she's absolutely right. If you do see something and you're like, well, this just doesn't seem right, find an official. You know, you're going to see officials are going to be wearing, what color hats are the officials wearing? Red hats this year. So, yeah, if you see a red hat, you know, you can mention something to them, but I think you're going to see pretty healthy dogs out there.
This is part of our thing. How many vet techs and how many veterinarians come here to check out that veterinarians approve all the dogs and inspect all the dogs? So go ahead.
Yep. Each dog has to go through a vet check. They're looking at heart rate. They're looking at how hydrated they are, mucous membranes, making sure that they're moving good, making sure there's no heart murmurs. A lot goes into it. We have a team of about 15 veterinarians, vet techs, and students, veterinary students that are coming that are going to be checking out each and every dog. So hands are going to be on each dog, getting checked in, and that's what I do for a living. I work as a vet tech, so I'm very thorough, making sure that everyone's getting every check done and making sure everything goes smoothly. But
You'll see marks on the
yep,
dog.
you'll see a marker on the dog. There's going to be a certain marker if they're checked into a certain race, and when they get checked out, they're going to get a mark right down their forehead. So you will see that. No cause for concern. That's normal. But I believe we're going to be moving outside now, so we can go get some hands on some dogs. So let's get all geared up because it is a crazy storm winter warning out there. So let's get ready, and we're going to meet outside by the curling club.
Volunteers are everything to CopperDog. Our number one mission for CopperDog is safety, and without our volunteers, we can't have a safe race. So therefore, there is no CopperDog. They are needed in big numbers to pull this thing off and make it safe.
How many people are volunteering for this event?
So there are over 600 positions that you can sign up for on the website. Now that doesn't include all the firefighters that come out, all the police officers, the DNR, and our internal team. So there's probably over 700 volunteers that actually do this thing. There's probably, out of the 600 positions on the website, there are probably over 250 that individual volunteers, because some sign up for 1, 2, 3, 4 positions.
Can you tell us more about the volunteers and where they come from?
So volunteers come from all across the Midwest. They come from Arizona. We've had volunteers from Arizona. We've had volunteers come from Tennessee. They come from all over. We have people that come specifically for our snowmobile only positions. They come up on their sled and they just kind of park and hang out and watch the teams go by. So a lot of folks come up from Chicago, Detroit area, and they just keep coming back every year.
What do volunteers do during CopperDog?
So there are many different positions volunteers can do. There are dog handling. So at the start and the finish of each of the legs, dog handlers are needed. There are the crossing guards, which are basically people that help guide the team safely across all of the road crossings. They form a safe chute for the dogs and the teams and the musher. There's bag checkers, and they ensure that the mushers are carrying the mandatory gear that's in the musher rules. So there's bag checkers at the beginning and the finish of the race, and anytime we kind of deem it necessary to have their bags checked. There are scribes for the veterinarians, so there are mandatory vet checks, and the scribes are basically writing down in the vet check log book whatever the veterinarians find on the dogs. There's timing assistance, so at certain crossings where they are timed at, they have a log that has the dogs on the ground, the musher bib number, and the minutes and the hours that they pass through the crossing, which then gets radioed back to Net Central. That's a big one. You can track all the teams and know where they're at.
What's it like working with all the volunteers?
The volunteers are awesome to work with. They just want to get out there and dig in and just keep on helping.